finally, Harley Quinn is back with season 3, which debuts July 28th. So it's coming up, and we get 3 episodes before it moves to a weekly show. And now it's going to be on HBO Max. Before it was on DC Universe. Remember when that was the thing? And still, some of us found this show because it was so good. And we'd all hoped that when it made the official move to HBO Max, it would find a bigger audience. But I must say, season 3 is the most niche yet in terms of audience appeal, which is a very odd business choice because you think with the bigger audience, they'd want to have as broad appeal as possible. So yeah, sadly, season 3, in my opinion, is not as strong as seasons 1 and 2. And I'm not just talking from a business perspective, but I think creatively as well. But we'll get to that in a moment. First, I want to talk about what the show gets right, because it does get some stuff right. Harley Quinn is a very difficult character to write. In fact, even Paul Dini, who created her, has told some real clunkers lately, and her current comic is unreadable. I try very hard to pick up anything that Harley Quinn is in because she's such a fun character, but sometimes they break even me, and I'm like, I just can't read it. It's too bad. I don't know about you, but my Comixology unread stack has gotten pretty big. I got to be more disciplined in what I purchase. I got to make sure I'm really going to read it. And I got to say, Harley Quinn comics are a big chunk of that unread pile. I finally did stop buying the current comic. I can't believe that it's still going. You would think that it would be fixed by now. But anyway, this show, I feel, gets Harley. Oh, just right. As I said before, it succeeds where other Harley Quinn stories fail. Season 1 made me understand why she had to break up with Joker. Oh, it was gorgeous. It was so organic. The whole thing's so organic. That's a great word for this. Season 2 made me feel that she had to be with Poison Ivy. I was like, they're a perfect pair forever. And season 3, I can't believe it, actually got me to a point where I was like, maybe Harley Quinn could be a bit of an anti-hero, and maybe she does work at the Bat family sometimes. And I hate that in the comics. I'm like, get her out of there. She's supposed to be a villain. And now I'm like, it kind of works. So this show is very good at handling Harley. Season 3 is 10 episodes, but that last one must be a real doozy because they only gave us the first 9 for fear of spoilers leaking. Out of those 9 episodes, I have 2 clear favorites, and thank goodness they're spread out because they kept me going with this season. I still binged it in 2 days because I love this show and I love these characters. But anyway, episode 3, where the DC Comics Villain of the Year idea becomes an actual awards show, the Villies, I think, and it was a lot of fun. And that, as I said, they do 3 episodes up front, and this is the 3rd episode. So that was a very good decision because it'll make sure people come back for the week to week after that. And then episode 8, which I have to say is probably one of the best Batman Harley Quinn stories I've ever seen, both together and separate. One of the things I like so much about the Harley Quinn Animated Series is that it feels like Batman the Animated Series, but for adults, which is quite clever because a lot of properties have benefited from aging up the show along with their core audience. But I have to say, episode 8 is as good or perhaps even better than anything Batman the Animated Series ever did. And that was a high bar. So for me to say that, I was really blown away. Episode 9 also had a very good cliffhanger ending for episode 10, which I didn't get yet, the final episode of the season. And also I have to say, the way they set it up, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the final episode. So that's fun. That's great that it's going to be a genuine surprise. I'm glad this season ended up telling a great Batman story in episode 8 because I was getting pretty frustrated with how he was being portrayed up until that point. Whipped in every sense of the word by Catwoman, it was very difficult as a Batman fan to see Selina be so mean and dismissive to him with no good moments. You're like, why are you a couple? You guys never seem to be having a nice time. And then he keeps coming back for more. It was a really hard to watch portrayal of Batman. Harley might have sworn off men, but this show doesn't need to, and every guy is not a selfish jerk like the Joker. I would suspect also that the majority of people who watch this show are men, because that's just the case with most comic book and genre content. I mean, there are, of course, female fans. Hello. But, the majority is guys. So again, it's a really strange decision to make guys look so bad on the show. I mean, that's why Kite Man was so popular, right? I mean, that's why so many people rallied to Kite Man's defense, because a lot of guys were watching this show. And he only shows up, Kite Man, by the way, only shows up briefly here in one episode. He's getting his own spin-off show, but who knows when that's going to be. It would have been nice to have more of him here. And I thought that the part that was here was a little bland. I really didn't feel I got my Kite Man itch scratched, right? Kite Man. The show also suffers from the same problem that so many shows do, and that's when the will they or won't they couple finally gets together, it's kind of boring. And yes, while Harley and Ivy aren't in danger of breaking up as the show promised, which is great, they are learning how to cohabitate, which unfortunately means playing up how dry Poison Ivy is. For a moment, I was like, Poison Ivy should never have her own story. She's too boring. And I'm like, but I'm a huge Poison Ivy fan, and Batman the Animated Series did such a great job. What the hell, man? And then also, it really made Harley seem very annoying for multiple episodes. Both characters are more nuanced and deserve better than how they're portrayed for a good chunk of this season. They also become Harlivy, which at first I thought was a fun celebrity couple name, but now that they're an inseparable duo on the show, I'm like, I don't like it. Because just as people need their own space in relationships, characters need their own space in stories to grow. I still like them very much as a couple, but they don't have to do everything together. Couples like that. And also, this is Harley Quinn's show, and then suddenly, Poison Ivy is like made a co-lead, and you're like, but it's Harley's show. It just doesn't work. When Harley starts doing more stuff on her own in the second half of season 3, it gets to be a lot better. And wow, Harley is really clingy and a bit too enthusiastic about romantic relationships. Since the show often addresses psychological issues, I love how they not only remember that Harley is a talented psychiatrist, but so often use it so well. That's used so well in episode 8. I thought that was incredible. But hopefully this show at some point going forward, or maybe in episode 10, addresses that, this is the exact kind of behavior she exhibited with Joker, Harley. And, it's in many ways, I don't know if it's a healthier relationship for either of them. I don't know. I don't know. They seem more like they want to be in the relationship than they actually are in the relationship. All right. So anyway, Joker's still here with a very good storyline, actually, and Nightwing is a great addition. I thought he was funny. As for the other characters, there's also a couple of, so as for the other characters that we've known from previous seasons, they're okay, but they're not as strong as they were before. And Catwoman, I really don't like what they did with Catwoman, which is unfortunate because I know a lot of you were very excited to have Sanaa Lathan doing the voice, and I was too, but this has just not worked out. Also, some iconic Batman story elements are just turned into inappropriate jokes. Like if you're a Court of Owls fan, you are not going to be happy. Maybe you will be, but I thought it was pretty disrespectful. And they totally wasted an opportunity to do something interesting with Nora Freeze, a brilliant development in season 2. I thought that was great. But now she's just been turned into a Girls Gone Wild raunch fest, which I did not think added to the show. It was not worth it. I did love all the guest stars because, again, this is very much like Batman the Animated Series. So to see newer DC characters or DC characters that have evolved since Batman the Animated Series be shown in that style of animation, that's just so fun. You're like, that's great. As for celebrity cameos, James Gunn, as you know from the trailers, has a pretty, it's brief, but it's substantial. And then also there's another big Hollywood name that I was really delighted to see. They were great. But unfortunately, they are in the Clayface storyline. And I don't think this version of Clayface works at all on his own. I think that he's best in small doses as part of Harley's gang. Did not work. Finally, season 3 of Harley Quinn is very adult, up there with The Boys. Please keep that in mind, because I know it's animated, and I hope that HBO Max puts so many warning signs on this, because I think a lot of people scrolling through HBO Max might be very surprised. Much more adult than season 1 and 2. That was mostly adult language, I felt. I mean, sure, it had other elements, but I think that it really went far with the language. This goes very far with violence and nudity and sex. They blur out a lot of the nudity, but still, it's there. And they didn't blur it out that well, I gotta tell you. All right, so that's my non-spoiler review of Harley Quinn season 3. I don't know if it'll win over any new fans, which is a real shame, because, that's what we were hoping as it went to HBO Max. Maybe they'll watch the first 2 seasons to get up to season 3, and then they'll be converted then. But I think for those of us who have already watched the first 2 seasons, or for those of you who come aboard, I think that there's enough here that you'll feel it was still worth your time. And again, those 2 episodes, 3 and 8, are fantastic. And maybe 10's a real banger. We'll see. And then also, as for like maybe a season 4, even though I thought this was not as good as the first 2 seasons, I love it so much, and I love an adult Batman the Animated Series, that I'm like, let's keep going. But I hope that Harley and Ivy aren't as joined at the hip next time around. All right, but they don't have to break up. I just don't need them to spend all their time together. It's not good for couples. All right, share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.